work phone now, so I can use it.
We're live right now. We're live. Finalizing. We got the intro on loop.
Try to get some people in here.
I'm gonna post on Twitter. Let's see which one I want to use here. Let's put that guy on there. Alright, we've tweetered out. Fully tweetered. We got Murky up in the building already. What up, Murky? Oh man, okay, so we've got, let's see. We had the draft over the weekend. You guys weren't there.
Sure.
Decent drafts, and we had some questionable drafts. But drafts, nonetheless.
A little bit of that all the time, right? There's always a little weirdness there. Head scratchers around every year.
But let's show these guys our gorgeous mugs here.
Yeah, buddy.
There we are. There we are.
Live and in the flesh.
So, did you watch any more of the draft? I watched some more of Monday nights, but or not Monday nights, Thursday nights. Friday night. Oh, Friday night I was streaming on my YouTube channel. Or my Twitch channel.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I want to give myself a shout out and my boy C Killa. We joined a group called Almost Famous, and they actually promoted us to be content creators for them. So it's a new adventure we're going to be working on the Twitch channel on the Hater Blocker MLG. Just to plug my Twitch in there, you know, a little bit.
Who I cut out just a little bit. Who reached out?
It's a group that we joined called Almost Famous.
Okay.
It's a group of guys. The two guys that run it used to be like competitive gamers. Murky was the one that got me in there. He got me the invite. He's a mod. I think he's a mod or a general, or I don't know what he is. He's some bigwig up in there. He's like number 2 or 3 on the list. But what up, Dollar Bill?
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
All right.
We got Bill in the building. Bill in the building.
Billy Bill.
All right, I got.
Always good to have Bill along.
There
Always good to have Bill along.
Okay, got my backup here in case something crashes. We can see what happened.
We're gonna have Big Daddy Foskett rolling through at some point.
I'm sure he'll. Yeah, you know, when we go live, it usually takes him about 30 minutes to figure out how to get his computer to work and to join. He's like, if I could just figure out how to get in there a little faster, man.
All right. Well,
So let's start off with the draft. Now we went through the first 15 picks. We streamed it on Thursday. Thank you for you guys that were there and hung out with us. That was a good time. That was the first time I think sat and just chilled with somebody while I was watching the draft.
yeah.
So we had some picks after 15. I know obviously Mac Jones went 15th. It was Bill Belichick was pretty excited about that.
Yep.
We had some interdivisional trades with the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Surprising, to say the least. Yep.
We had the Bears trading up to get Justin Fields. which I don't think was a surprise to anybody. And let's see. Let me find this whole thing here. Pros and cons. Is this? Here we go. So Trevor Lawrence, of course, going number one.
Yep.
We spoke about it Thursday. This guy has not lost a game since he started high school.
Yeah.
As a quarterback.
Yep.
He's never lost a game. So unless he goes 17-0 and wins the Super Bowl this year, I don't think it's going to happen. But
yeah, it's going to be a little something new for him coming into the season. Have to get accustomed to some of these to some losses, I think. So we'll see. I mean, hey, I'm still on the fence on Trevor Lawrence. I know I'm one of the few, if probably the only person out there that is on the fence about Trevor Lawrence. But we'll see. I did hear today, as I was rolling to the house, I was listening to some talk radio, and they were mentioning about how it feels like, and I tend to agree with this take, it feels like all of the quarterbacks that went in the first round, and even the ones that didn't go in the first round, I feel like they all went to the right teams, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like, there's sometimes that you feel like you watch a guy and you're like, oh man, that's a reach,
Mm-hmm.
And this time around, I feel like the right guys went to the right teams. Fit-wise, I feel like everybody went there. The only one that I can probably think where it's going to be a little iffy, a little touch and go, is probably Justin Fields, just because I feel like the Bears don't really have an offense per se that it's geared towards anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's got no identity.
Right. So, I mean, with that being said, I feel like maybe he can jump in there and do some things. They'll start running an offense that's a little bit more conducive to his skills. But he's the only one. And really, again, I feel like they have a perfect opportunity to build something around that, a young guy and make it work. But, obviously we talked about Trevor Lawrence and his skill set and what he's going to be able to do for the Jags. And so we'll see what happens there, with Zach Wilson going to I'm over here reading something, my bad. Zach Wilson going over to the Jets, and what that can be, and some of the offseason moves that they've made to try to get a little bit more weapons around him. Trey Lance is the one that I think has I think Trey Lance has the biggest opportunity to do well. That's a team that's pretty well ready to make some noise. You know what I mean? Like they struggled a bit here because of injury last year, but you got a great tight end. You have some wide receivers. You have a lot happening there. They have a good running back group. I feel like those guys will make some noise. Oh boy. Yeah, buddy. I like it. I gotta tell you, I like it, man. Pretty sweet.
So, not to cut you off, but the quarterback situation, I did agree. I do agree with you 100%. I think where the quarterbacks ended up. The interesting picks here, I thought, were Pittsburgh with Najee Harris. Pittsburgh had the worst running game in the league last year. Ended up, this guy's going to be an every down back, hopefully. But I really liked Jacksonville's pickup. Right after that, they picked up Travis Etienne from Clemson. This guy is the all-time leader in ACC for rushing touchdowns and scrimmage touchdowns, and he was second in the FBS last year in receiving yards. So that's going to be, the Jags, man, they made some big pickups, and it sucks because every time Jacksonville makes they make these moves like this, we get excited. They picked up Nick Foles, and we're like, oh man, they got the guy, and didn't turn into anything. So.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You know what? With the Jags, though, the thing that I don't understand about the Jags is the fact that, that pickup, but you know what? You could have used so much more. But I did notice throughout this draft kind of a tendency where teams would go out there, especially with the ones that picked up quarterbacks, and they were bringing in guys from the same program to kind of complement the guy that they picked. Kind of, I don't know if it's just a sense of, hey, we can kind of cater to our guy, bring somebody that they're familiar with. I know that and even guys who teams that drafted teams or quarterbacks the year before, like you look at Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, they picked up their wide right. They picked him up to kind of complement him, somebody that he knows, that he's been around. So a lot of teams kind of, I felt like we're doing that. We're bringing guys in to bring that familiarity in to complement the guys that they're bringing, these young guys that are now being fast-tracked into the NFL, where before a guy could sit for a little bit, now they're being fast-tracked in there. So maybe making more of an effort to bring those guys in to complement those young quarterbacks and kind of help that fast track moving along. So, yeah, I mean, I was excited for this first round. The first time I mentioned that we were watching it live, the first time that my team, I felt like was going to make a little bit of noise. I thought they maybe were going to be moving up, but they didn't have to. And the more I thought about it over this week, I know that a lot of people saw my reaction live to the Matt Jones pick, and it just sinking. I think it has potential to turn out okay. Now, I don't know, that he's going to be the next coming of anybody, but it has some potential. I think that the move has potential. I think his skill set suits what Josh McDaniels likes to do as an offensive coordinator. Today they did not exercise the fifth-year option on Sony Michel, so that's one less running back in there. They still have Damon Harris, and they picked up another running back. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I felt like all of these guys. Again, I agreed with the take from my drive-in today. That all these guys did go to a good team. Even Kyle Trask, who was not a first-round pick, ends up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, what better situation if you're Kyle Trask are you going to go to than to the defending Super Bowl champions, loaded team? You get to be behind Tom Brady for a couple of years, and then hopefully you slide right into a starting spot. I mean, again, all these guys, great opportunities. It's good for the NFL to see some good competitive football teams. Hopefully all of these guys pan out. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and we've seen what's happened to the quarterbacks that have played behind Tom Brady. They have gotten paid. They have been successful to an extent. And I think I love the fact that Kyle Trask is going to get the chance to learn. It's. I mean, you're right. I mean, the quarterbacks went to where they should go. Dallas had a non-sexy draft this year. Drafted, I think, 6 defense. I mean, they went all defense. So I can't be too mad at that because that's what we needed. But I did see the draft grade they got was an A-. But Micah Parsons is actually top of the list to become. They're projecting him to be the defensive rookie of the year. So that's pretty exciting. I think 5 of the 6 guys they drafted are actually on the list. I think the top 50 defensive players to be defensive rookie of the year. So
yeah.
There's
we talked about it during the draft. How this is a year where your Cowboys. It's I think I mentioned it during the draft. It's kind of like the Tim Duncan year when he got drafted to the Spurs, right? The year before, Dave Robinson was injured. They kind of fell and ended up with a first round pick. With a first pick overall. But a team that was good, but it had some bad things happen to them. And because of that, actually turned into a good thing. Ended up getting a guy in Tim Duncan that was there for years to come and won many championships.
Hall of Famer.
Right. So it's kind of, I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened to the Dallas Cowboys, but they do lose their quarterback. They go out there, they struggle during the season. They get a pretty high draft pick. And a team that didn't have many holes offensively. Again, we talked about it with the exception maybe of a tight end.
Right.
They have a running game. They have wide receivers. They have a quarterback coming back who's very skilled. And if he plays to his potential, can do some damage. So all of a sudden, you have the luxury of sitting there if you're Dallas and you're going, you know what, best available. If that's defense, we're going defense. And they went hard at it because, that's where they struggled last year was on that defensive side. So kudos to them for not going for the crazy flashy stuff, you know what I mean, and staying a little bit more even keeled and picking up some guys that are going to be some helpers down the road. So we'll see what happens there. Interesting that they made a trade with the Eagles. I think you and I even mentioned that during the draft, how I think we were both shocked that deal was made, because typically teams don't want to help anybody within their own division, and yet they made a deal to move back and to potentially help the Eagles. So on the chat, I see Donald Pump. He's a big Fins fan, and he's talking about Waddle. And again, to my point earlier, a guy going to a team where Tua played with Jalen Waddle previously, instead of maybe going in a different direction, they decided, you know what, we're going to believe in Tua, and not only we're going to believe in Tua, we're going to bring in a guy that he's familiar with to again try to fast track that learning curve, moving him forward. So a speedy guy, everybody compares him to Tyreek Hill. Has tremendous separation coming off the ball. So we'll see how that, kind of gels and what he can do to help Tua out. Again, a team in my division with the Pats, but I'm glad to see them. I don't know why I am glad to see them kind of picking it up, just because of Brian Flores. I know you've heard me say that in the past. I am a Brian Flores fan. So good for them. We'll see what happens. I hope he sucks against the Patriots and does well against everybody else.
Well, and I think you're right. I think and drafting that way with the Jamar Chase going to Cincy, with Waddle going to Miami, it brings a level of comfort to both of them. But I think it helps the receivers a lot, because these quarterbacks have been in the NFL. They know the speed. They know what to expect. They can teach these guys and get them up to speed a little bit quicker as well. And so it's not a double-edged sword. I guess it would kind of be a double-edged sword in a good way, to where it's going to affect both of them positively. So I think there was when you start looking at the draft as it unfolds and you look at the teams overall, you kind of start to understand the way they're thinking, because at the time when the draft's up, you're like, why would he take that guy? Why would they, and then you start thinking about it, and it makes sense the way they do things. And it's pretty it was a good draft, but we did get some draft grades out somewhere. I had it up somewhere here. Here we go. So they
I laugh at this because this is tough to do, right? It's like the same thing when we do our fantasy football draft. Immediately afterwards we get the page where everybody's being graded,
the draft grades,
and at the end of the season, the guy that ended up with a C is the one that's raising the championship trophy, versus the guy that ended up with an A is sitting there with 3 wins and barely went anywhere. So but what you got? Needless to say, what are the grades?
Some notables here. We got some mid-grade stuff. Cardinals, Falcons, Ravens, Buffalo, Carolina, all pulling Bs. The Cincinnati, they actually gave a C+. Mostly because I think they made some decisions to trade down and not take an offensive tackle or an offensive guard that was a little higher up. So I think that kind of dropped their grade down some. Let's see. There were some low ones. Green Bay, that was another one we talked about. Green Bay did not make any moves to help out Aaron Rodgers. This guy had to have... Again. Hopefully he just turned the TV off for the whole weekend, came in Monday and said, why am I still on this team? Why am I not on a plane on my way to Denver right now? Because I cannot do this. I don't understand the thought process for that. Jacksonville got an A-. Who had the lowest grade? I know the Rams got a C. Patriots got an A, which was not a surprise. Did New Orleans pick up? Did they pick up a quarterback? They didn't pick up a quarterback.
They did. They actually picked up.
Was that late?
His name escapes me. Yes, but they did. They did pick up a quarterback. I believe it was Ian Book from Notre Dame was their selection.
Nobody we've heard of.
I believe he's not a bad guy. He's got a little, he's got some playmaking in him a little bit. He's a little erratic, but yeah, it's nothing to write home about. For sure.
The Jets actually got an A+. Obviously, they took Zach Wilson, but they also made a move and traded up to 14 to get Elijah Vera Tucker, who we spoke about,
Mhm.
and in the second round, I think they took Elijah Moore. So they took two Elijahs, spelled differently, but they got a wide receiver, they got a guard, and they got the quarterback that they wanted, hopefully, of the future.
Okay.
Pittsburgh got a C minus. I think Pittsburgh had the lowest grade. Yeah, Pittsburgh had the lowest grade with a C minus.
And a move that I think is going to have major impact. They've always been good at running the football.
Hmm.
They've plugged in guys in the past, and now they get a a massive upgrade, I think, to what they had there previously. I think Najee Harris is going to have an awesome year. They'll run the ball probably bunches, young guy with an older quarterback. Yet they brought back their receiving core. I think he has a great potential to do some damage come this season for Pittsburgh.
Hmm. I think the big question is their offensive line going to be able to hold up? Because I don't think they made any moves for the offensive line until the
Yeah.
third round, um, and that's going to be their big question. Obviously they kept big fan of the show, Juju Smith-Schuster on the team.
Juju.
We were fortunate enough, when the trades opened up to kind of have an idea. We weren't really allowed to tell you guys, but we kind of knew what was going on. We had an idea that he was going to stay, and so they've got the receivers they need. They've got two dynamic receivers. They've got their new hot running back, the powerhouse workhorse, and Najee Harris. Can they turn this into something? Does Big Ben have anything left in the tank? We're gonna find out. I think we're gonna find out. But NFL draft, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was good to see fans too. Just overall, if we can hit it a little bit on just the overall atmosphere, it was nice to see fans. I mean, I was surprised to see the number of people though. I mean, when they initially panned out and showed the whole crowd, quite a bit of people. I mean, it was to me. I don't know about you, but it was surprising to me that they had as many people as they had there. Um, but overall, it was pretty good. I mean, the NFL always does a really good job of putting on a show, especially for the fans. So kudos to them for kind of bringing some normalcy back to something that's been um, a fun event for them. So we'll see how it is moving forward. There's some dates coming up now. Some talks about some teams making some moves. They have to wait till the beginning of June so that so they're not being affected by the salary cap as much. If they make these moves right now, the one that comes to mind obviously is Julio Jones. If they move him after June 1st, he'll count $5 million to the cap. Versus if they move him now and try to trade him, it'll be 20 plus million to the cap. So that's a guy that you could potentially see move. Um, and I'm sure just the same way there's other names out there. I don't think that we've heard the last of this Aaron Rodgers deal either. And I don't think that we've heard the last of Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers either. I think those are two names that we can see on the move. So I think we're still in for some some fireworks moving forward with the NFL. So we'll see what happens there.
Sony
Um,
Michel, by the way,
yeah, yeah.
he gone.
Didn't exercise. Yep, he is gone. He's had knee injuries. Has not been able to stay on the field. Had one really good year. His rookie year helped the Pats make it all the way to the Super Bowl. I think he scored 5 touchdowns in that postseason. So he did his thing. Hopefully, he gets a little money somewhere else and gets an opportunity. But if not, he's still a Super Bowl champion and played for the greatest organization in the NFL, in my opinion.
And in my opinion, one of my favorite guys, they also did not pick up a fifth-year option in Leighton Vander Esch. Kind of the same story with the injuries. It's when the linebackers start having neck injuries, man. It's pretty much all downhill. Sean Lee, I don't think he ever had too many neck injuries, which is why he was able to play for 12 seasons and 14 games total. But you know, Leighton Vander Esch, man, there was so much potential there, and unfortunately the injuries cut down. Plus, Josh Rosen got cut from his contract. Man, who saw that coming?
I know, right? Man,
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen. I didn't even know he was still in the league. But yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch, and teams made some moves, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. On to the next thing. So I did want to ask you before we get to our next topic here today. I I think we have a really cool topic for people. I mean, some crazy news that are coming out of sports, and I wanted to get your take on it, and then we're going to dive into it a little bit more. But you went over to Night of Destruction this weekend. You sent me some videos, and you took that in with the fam and some friends. And how was that experience? How was it?
I tell you what, so we pulled in there. We got there about 30 minutes before it started, and we
tell people what it is for the ones that are not too familiar, the ones that are joining us from afar.
Sorry. So Night of Destruction basically is it's a night of destruction. It's at a racetrack. It's called Orlando Speed World. It's a small oval track, but basically they do the Destruction Derby. They do figure 8 bus races. They do monster truck stuff. I mean, they had a monster truck that was jumping through a plane there. They do fireworks, concession stands, everything. I mean, it's awesome. So we got there about 30 minutes before it started, and there was a guy pulled up behind me, and gets out with his girlfriend or his wife, whatever, and he walks up and he says, "Hey, man," he said, "it's nice to be out here and see all these people." Like out of nowhere. And it's a younger guy who's probably in his 20s, and I said, "You know what? You're right, dude. Like, hell yeah." He's like, "We got to wear a mask in there?" I said, "I guess we're going to find out when we get there." That was the concern. But yeah, they started the night out. I tried to take some videos, but man, it was a blast. We took Baby Blocker with us. She's 7, and we got through the first race, and she's like, "It's over?" I said, "No. We got a lot left." So.
Yeah.
No injuries. A lot of those Destruction Derby races and stuff, on the oval tracks, the best part is the first 3 or 4 laps, because that's when the most crashing and stuff happen. After that, everything gets a little spread out. But yeah, man, we had a good time. A lot of people there. The lines for the bathrooms were insane. The lines for the food were insane. The lines for the beer were not insane. They were pushing people through the beer line. So
yeah,
can't complain. But man, it was a great time. And yesterday, I woke up early from my stupor of being up all night, and went and took my concealed carry class. So went and took that, and did some went out. They took us out to the range to do some shooting, and our instructor pulled me off to the side, and he said, "You ever been shooting before?" I said, I went out one time, and did some shooting." He said, "You're a hell of a shot." I was like, "I appreciate that."
Yeah.
So we went out and shot some 22s, some 380s, some 9mm from about 7 yards out. He said that's 7 yards, 5 to 7 yards is going to be your standard if something ever happens where you need to do something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, my weekend was definitely not as eventful as yours. I just relaxed a little bit. I spent my whole day yesterday, Sunday, watching racing, and you know that I'm a racing fan. I have recently become even more of a fan of F1 racing, Formula 1 racing. So my son and I woke up and really took that one in. He and I, it's something that we've started watching together a lot more. So definitely something that I'm appreciating a whole lot more. Took in afterwards a little bit of the NASCAR race, and kind of the nightcap was a little bit of the IndyCar racing, which we hadn't watched in a long time, but was pretty cool to watch too. So we're big racing fans, my son and I, and we enjoyed that. So our weekend was a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more tame, but I really wanted to get your opinion on and your take on your outing there to Night of Destruction. I know that we talked about it, and I thought I was going to head out there, but ended up I had to do something with my younger brother, so we were doing that. But we do want to get into our next topic, and it's a little bit more serious, but I think it's one that definitely interesting, sad. There's a little bit of everything. Tim, you know that I am a boxing fan, and you know that nowadays boxing is not what it once was, and we're going into all of these, all of these crazy, just kind of entertainment, fights. We have Mayweather coming up against, like one of the Paul brothers, one of the YouTubers. I just saw that Chad Ochocinco signed on to do like the one of the bouts leading up to that main event. So they're going to have this whole fiasco. It's June 6th, I believe. So, of course, we're all going to tune in and watch it because it's Mayweather, because it's an exhibition, and because, we're crazy with throwing our money away like that. But On a more serious note, for the folks who haven't heard it, there's a boxer out of Puerto Rico named Felix Verdejo, and I texted you about this earlier today, and I've
Yep.
been kind of following this story over the weekend. It's kind of wild, it's kind of crazy, and it's more than anything, it's very, very sad. So Felix Verdejo is a 27-year-old boxer, again out of Puerto Rico, talented guy. Had an accident on a motorcycle several years ago, and his career kind of derailed a little bit. But Felix Verdejo has had a friend that he knew, or an acquaintance, or kind of a girlfriend, if you would, somebody that he knew from about middle school, and they've known each other for quite some time. He's now married and has a child, but he's kind of maintained a relationship with this young lady on the side. Um, she recently told him that she was expecting a child of his. He did not take well to that, apparently, and Felix Verdejo decided that he was going to kidnap her. And he apparently, according to some of the reports that I've read, punched her in the jaw. Previous to that, had gone to a local drug dealer and purchased an unknown substance and injected her to the point where she was semi-unconscious, and then decided to tie her up. He took her to a bridge over a lagoon, tied a brick to her, and threw her into the lagoon. And then proceeded to shoot into the lagoon. I guess to finish the job if he hadn't done so previously. She was found several days later floating in this lagoon. Obviously, all the pieces were put together. And yesterday he turned himself in, and he's officially been charged with her murder now. It is a very, very sad story. A young man, 27 years old, who is a pretty good boxer. I mean, not a guy that I don't think he's not the huge star that he potentially was going to be, especially after that accident. But he was coming back and making a pretty good comeback. Had a pretty good record. But yeah, it's a sad story, and condolences, I guess, to to her family and to everybody there. Now they're missing their child, their daughter, their sister, and his family is now missing, a husband, a son, and a father who is the likelihood is going to go to jail. It sounds like potentially they're going to give him the death penalty. He's facing some federal charges.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it's a sad story. It's kind of gruesome. It's kind of all the details as they come out, especially one where she's with child and he's taking the life of this young lady and the baby. So, I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to bring up some of these. We've had quite a bit of this kind of happen, unfortunately, over the years. Some really notable names, some not so notable, but athletes that have committed some heinous crimes and have not been able to use their fame, right, their riches to always to do good. We do have plenty of guys out there that do very good stuff, but then we have some dark stuff that happens. Right off, for me, comes to mind with Aaron Hernandez and his situation. Here's a young man that came from a rough situation, but made it in football, so much so that he got like a $40 million contract from the Patriots. And he goes out there and commits the crime that he does and kills his fiance's brother-in-law or something like that. And, he ends up going to jail, charged, and eventually took his own life. But again, somebody who made it, was by all accounts should have been doing well, and here he is, decides to make a decision like this where he feels like he still needs to be in that life and take somebody else's life.
Well, I think that with this guy Felix, it's tough because one, the only person you shouldn't feel bad for is him.
Mm-hmm.
This was obviously premeditated. He was trying to cover his tracks up. I'm assuming he didn't want his family to find out. You take that risk when you get into a side relationship, when you got your side piece. But to try and cover it up this way is it's a little extreme to think that that's your only way out. To think that, hey, I can get away with this. So if he is found guilty of this, and from what I've seen, all of the evidence here is pointing towards that. This is definitely, I wouldn't even say this is death penalty eligible. This should just be automatic. Um,
Hmm.
and but it brings to mind, you start thinking about is when you have these athletes and they're on this pedestal, you don't see them as a normal person, as an everyday
Right.
person that can make these decisions, and you sit there and say, like, you had the whole world, man. Why would you make that decision?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it you can see how quickly the public can switch like that on them, can turn on them, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. You look at guys through the past. You look at O.J. Simpson. You know, you look at I mean, even guys that haven't committed murder. You guys like Ray Rice. You know,
Right.
Ray Rice to me
Right.
will always and forever be a piece of shit. Video evidence proves that he is a piece
Yeah.
of shit. Um, and you look at guys like Ray Rice, who, the story's a little different. Or not Ray Rice, Ray Lewis. Um,
Hmm.
but even the Aaron Hernandez thing, you just kind of wonder, like, this guy had the whole world. You're standing on top of the mountain, bro, and you're doing
Yeah.
this shit on the side. Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we had just recently in the beginning of in April, um we had a former NFL player, Philip Adams,
Hmm.
who went on a shooting spree and went out there and
Killed 5 people.
shot. Yeah, yeah. He just went into this home and he shot. I believe it was uh, I have the story here with me. It is I think it was his a therapist, I believe. His spouse and then the grandkids that were in the home and somebody who was working. He goes in there, he shoots it all up, takes their lives, then goes home and then takes his life after some back and forth with the police. He decides that he's going to take his life. But I think you hit the nail on the head with when you're saying, that we tend to put these guys on a pedestal, and we think that, just right off the bat, it's, hey, they have this money, they should be fine now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And yet they have these monsters within them, and they have all this stuff happening. You know what I mean? And they make these decisions that are crazy. Uh, Donald Pump in the chat brings up Ray Caruth. That's one of the ones I was going to talk about as
Hmm.
well. Ray Caruth from the Carolina Panthers years ago decided that he wanted to take the life of his baby mama, for lack of a better term. Set the whole thing up. She was basically, a car stopped in front of her, or something to that effect, and made her pull over. And once she did that, they went ahead and opened fire on her, killing her. And um, they were able to save the baby. She was far enough along where they saved the baby, and he has all kinds of issues, and struggles through his life. And grandmother's the one that raised him. Ray Caruth did 11 years in prison, and just a couple years ago was released. And to my surprise, somebody who tried so hard and so violently to get rid of his child, and the mother of his child, and yet he's now going out there and he's like, oh no, I want to meet my son and I want to be a part of his life. And it's like, man, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Just crazy stories. We had Oscar Pistorius. That one, some people believe accident, some people believe on purpose, but he took the life of his girlfriend.
Yep.
He says that he believed that she was a burglar, that he was unaware of what was happening, and in the darkness shot her, and then did not realize it was her. Took her life. There was a story out of Baylor that I actually semi unprepared here for that one, but I did want to bring it up because it was a crazy one where it was a player on the basketball team years ago where he tried to kill or killed a teammate.
Yeah.
It's just these guys go out there and again, we put them on the pedestal, but they have their demons, they have their struggles, whether it be mental health stuff or just the way they're raised. But I mean, yeah, it's crazy to see these, these stories, and this one in particular, just really caught my attention, partially because it was all over my Facebook. I am Puerto Rican, and I have obviously lots of family that that were very interested in this, and friends, and it was posted all over my my Facebook page. So I took a big interest to it. But just overall, it got me to thinking, man, over the years, and I feel like recently we've seen a lot more of this, where these guys get so violent. I remember in wrestling, Chris Benoit, for all you wrestling fans out there, he wiped out his whole family in his home. Killed his wife, his two children. He killed his two children, and then killed himself in his weight room. Kind of hung himself. I mean, such violent act. It's just a shame, and it is a bit of a downer today. And I bringing it up, but it just kind of took me aback. Throughout the weekend and learning more about this, and seeing him turn himself in last night and learning more of the details of what happened. Just overall, it's crazy that these things happen. They're so public for everybody to see.
Yeah, and this is not to be mistaken with athletes that have actually killed someone. There's a lot of athletes that have killed people while they were intoxicated and driving drunk, and vehicular manslaughter is a big one. We're not talking about those guys, and I don't want to think that they're any less guilty than these other people, but that is those are stupid incidences. And some of this other stuff is, like you said, it's either mental health or a lot of premeditation in the case of Felix, and we don't want to get those two sidetracked. I mean, I still think if you make the decision to drive drunk and you kill someone, 100% you should be held liable for that, because there was a point where you knew you had too much and you decided to take that chance. But yeah, right. It's a shitty situation, and unfortunately with this most recent one, this one is a little different because there's an unborn child involved. Not to take anything away from the fact that he killed this woman, but the fact that right. you don't know what that kid could have turned into, and that's the big thing, is that kid could have grown up to have boxer's blood in him and become a world champion. You don't know.
Yeah, you didn't give them the opportunity to have that life, for her to be a mother, and for him or her to have their life, and move forward. And listen, at the end of the day, I mean, if you didn't want to be the father to this child, I mean, just remove yourself from the situation. I mean, you put yourself in it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you get what you deserve. They're going to throw the book at him, and it's what he deserves. So, rightfully so, they should. But yeah, it just got me thinking about some of those guys again. Ray Caruth, Oscar, Pistorius. You talked about OJ, obviously, so famously put out there. Now we have Felix Verdejo. We have just a laundry list of these guys out there that have committed these crazy and heinous crimes. So again, not a downer, but a story that I wanted to talk about just because it was a crazy story, and it just kind of hit me for whatever reason. Just reading more and more about it over the weekend. But we will turn it to a little bit something a little bit more
upbeat,
happy, upbeat, and like I mentioned before, we do have some exhibition boxing coming up. I believe it is June 6th. One of the Paul brothers, the YouTubers, is going to face Floyd Mayweather. I still hold out hope that he closes his eyes, puts his head down, and swings for the fences and just absolutely takes him out, because even though Mayweather is older, I still want to see him get put on his behind. And like I said, Ocho Cinco looks like he's taking up somebody has challenged him, or he has challenged somebody. He's going to be on the other card. So Chad Ocho Cinco is going to be on the other card. So we'll see how that goes. But what are your thoughts on a Mayweather Paul. I say Paul because I don't remember offhand which one it is. Logan Paul or whatever which one it is. This is classic Mayweather. This is one of the lesser Pauls, or this is the lesser Paul. I'm sorry, not the one that just fought Ben Askren and is trying to become like a legit boxer. This is like the one that's like, whatever, you know.
Although they look the exact same.
Yeah, so maybe they switch them and they put in the one that's a legit guy.
You never know.
Yeah.
You know, I think if Logan Paul was to win this fight, that would be the only way it happens. Is he closes his eyes and just throws a haymaker and lands it by accident. Because you got to remember, you know, Floyd, he's not, he's how old is he? I mean, he's got to be 44, I think.
I think somewhere in that range, yeah.
He's not a spring chicken anymore, but I still think this guy is going to be faster. This guy's going to be quicker than Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And it's almost going to be funny just to see the little quick rabbit punches going in, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be a little crazy to see that. Who knows? Maybe he gets back in the ring and he gets rejuvenated and he feels like he can fight and he'll decide to fight somebody for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it'll be like the PGA and they start having like the senior tour boxing. You know?
I don't know. I feel like we're headed towards like this whole, you know, like exhibition boxing. You know, now where we're seeing more and more of this. You know, if they do it for the right, you know, they're making money, but hopefully they're giving up some money for some kind of charity or something. That'd be great to see. But
yeah,
I mean, again, we talked about this, I think, just a couple weeks ago, where we thought boxing was going to the point where we're having these. I think it's when the other Paul brother was going to fight Ben Askren, where we're like, you know, is this where boxing is, where it's becoming kind of a, you know, a comedy where we're just going to throw guys in there in the ring and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, Ultimate Fighting MMA is kind of taking over, and you know, they have the bigger events right now. I wonder what you know, I wonder what's going to happen here and how boxing really how they look at it and how they view this. If this is something that they feel like, hey, you know what, any publicity is good publicity, or if they're looking at it going, they're making a mockery of our sport and this needs to stop.
Well, it's going to be interesting because are we going to see, you know, maybe the other Paul brother who's an actual, you know, training boxer, maybe come out here and fight like a, you know, a Manny Pacquiao, or maybe like an Oscar De La Hoya, get out there and dance around with him for a little bit. I mean, honestly, those are the realistic exhibition bouts that people will pay to see, because these are big names. These are big names coming at it'd be like, you know, Dan Marino coming out to start a game for the Dolphins, you know, like everyone would watch that because they want to see it. They don't care what he does. They just want to see him. So it's definitely, I think, the wave of the future for boxing is that now, you know, you're gonna lose a lot of respect for the belts because there's just, I don't know how many belts there are. I feel like there's 4 or 5 different boxing belts that you can win, and there's only, you know, it's the same guys fighting the same guys over and over because they're the 2 best in the world. So there's no point in watching these other fights. So yeah, again, you know, I know we spoke about it a little bit last week, but boxing is really just it's not even gone downhill. I mean, it fell off the cliff and is trying to, you know, catch itself.
Yeah, we're grasping for straws for sure. You know, to try to stay afloat with that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the state of where it is, you know? I mean, it just kind of is what it is. The world of sports, I guess, is a little slower this time of year, so they're trying to fit in all these little entertainment, you know, something to keep us entertained. So
I did see, to make the transition here, we're going to get to the Magic game, but I did see that the Lakers are now the 7 seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're potentially a part of the playoff
and LeBron
play-in tournament.
LeBron had some choice words about this, about the fact that whoever decided or to set up this playoff needs to be fired. Is what his words were. Now, do you know what his words were last year? Man, those guys at the bottom of the playoffs, they should have to play out and play these guys that are fighting for spots. That's how it should be. It was his idea to do this, and now he wants the guy that did it to be fired. I cannot stand LeBron James now. I'm telling you, This guy is getting worse every week, every month. He says the dumbest stuff, and this is destroying his legacy. Because this is what people are seeing now. They're not seeing what he's doing on the court anymore. They're seeing him saying dumb shit, and now people are judging him off of it. They're calling him out on it, and he needs to just turn off all of his social media, stop doing interviews, just talk about basketball, man. And even when you're talking about basketball, you're still sticking your foot in your mouth. Like, this is the way history is now. You can't say something one year and then say something different the next year, because people are going to call you out. And I want the Lakers to lose. 36-28, it's ridiculous to have a powerhouse team like that, and you're 8 games over 500. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I will say this about them, and you know my feelings about LeBron James. They are, they've had massive injuries. Both of their stars have been injured. They have been out, so they are now,
garbage.
They're trying to stay afloat and trying to get their, back in sync. But it's classic, hey, when it works for me, it's great. When it doesn't work for me, it's garbage. And that's really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? He's last year was working for him just fine. And, there was a number 1 seed or number 2 seed, whatever they were, and he didn't care about it. And he's like, haha, whatever, let those guys, fight for the scraps. Now that he's going to have to do it, and potentially he sees maybe where there's a little chink in the armor and his team could potentially get beat, he is now bitching and whining about it and saying, oh, this is garbage. We're the 7th seed. We should just get in. We don't need to be fighting for anything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it is one of those deals where if it works for me, great. If it doesn't, then, I'm going to bitch and whine about it. But staying in the NBA, I do want to ask you something, because I did see Steph Curry, I believe, is the leading scorer in the NBA. 31.3 points a game.
I don't doubt that.
He's got 5.8 assists. The guy is averaging, he's top of the line and everything. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors are not the Golden State Warriors that they once were. Where do you stand on Steph Curry potentially being the MVP of the NBA, being that he has the best numbers? He's keeping his team somewhat afloat, but they're clearly not one of the top teams in the West. Where do you stand on the potential Steph Curry MVP?
So Steph Curry, in my opinion, Steph Curry is the most valuable player in the league. There is no thought process about this. And the reason I say that is because now when you have these super teams, those players should automatically be null and void from being MVP, because you can't be the most valuable player now, because you have all these other guys that are so dynamic. This guy is keeping his team afloat by himself. He is the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA right now. That is what he is. Okay, the guy's putting up insane numbers. He's still smiling out there. He's still shooting. Do I agree the way that the game is played today compared to the way it used to be? No. But at the end of the day, the guy's still hitting. He's the most prolific shooter of all time. And just in May alone, he hit 96 three-pointers. Okay, like, that is insane. 37.3 points a game, 13 30-point games. 35 points per game on 50, 40, and 90 shooting. Okay, first in NBA history to do that in a month. That's a minimum of 10 games. He shot 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, and over 90% on the free throw line. That is insane.
Yep.
He is the most valuable player, and I'm telling you right now, that's why I wear Under Armour shoes when I play ball. I haven't played ball in years, but if I was going to go back to it, I would get Steph Curry's over LeBron's, over Jordan's, over Harden's, or whoever else has stupid shoes.
Yeah. And you know what? Bill says, nobody's watching the NBA. It's the lowest ratings ever. I would agree with that. I feel like it's a sport that was on such a high not too down, because it's still the second most popular sport in the U.S. But it's definitely, you can feel that it's not quite the same. And I think it's a sport that's just been heavily affected by the no fans. You know what I mean? It's a sport
100%.
Where when you watch a game on TV, you see the fans on the court. Through the TV, you can still feel the fans and that energy there. It's unlike a football game where you don't really see the stands unless they kind of pan out to it and show the crowd. it's more, you know what I mean, or they turn up the juice on the sound, you know, on the third down because the fans are getting loud, and they'll pump that in a little bit for the TV audience. But in the NBA, it's one where you really see it. You know what I mean? And I think it's not just the players and the quality of the game that maybe has suffered because of it, but I think it's the the watchability, if you will, of these games because you don't have the fans. And if it wasn't, it sounded good in my mind. So you know, I think it makes it a little bit tougher. But yeah, I don't think enough people are watching Steph Curry. I just saw a stat that came across today, and I thought, man, you know, it's kind of the never-ending kind of debate, right? In all sports, if you're not on a winning team, do your numbers really matter, right? You know, if you have three guys on the top three teams, we'll use their numbers to kind of separate them and say this is the guy. Yet, if there's a guy sitting at the bottom that has better numbers than any of them, we're so easily gonna say, yeah, but
they're not winning
because he's
right.
Well,
you know who did win tonight? The Orlando Magic. Okay, they had 7 guys in double digits for points, leading the pack.
Was it only 7 guys that played? Because I feel like they have more guys that don't play for them night in and night out.
They had 2 other guys. Dwayne Bacon ended up with 9 points, and Cole Anthony had 8. But the leader of the pack, and I've been pumping this guy since we started, is Mo Bamba. Okay, 22 points, 15 rebounds. He's putting up Dwight Howard numbers now. Okay, Dwight Howard in his prime numbers. R.J. Hampton, I believe, set a career high with 10 assists. He was 3 rebounds away from a triple double. Nice to see them come out and pull a win against the Pistons. I feel like, you know, when I used to go to the Magic games, the Pistons were like, that was one of their teams. The Pistons and the Bucks. Those are like the 2 teams that just always seem to have. You know, it was like a rivalry almost with those teams. And I don't know why, but I always had that feeling. That's why I hate the Pistons. I hate them.
And you know what? It's a rivalry right now because they're battling with the Pistons for the worst record in the East to try to have one of the top picks, if not the top pick in the draft.
Yeah.
You know, so they're neck and neck with them. You know, as a Magic fan, you're like, yeah, they won, and then you go, oh no, wait, no, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that.
Now we're a game up on them.
Yeah, you know, you guys can't even do this right. You know what I mean? You're the Jets right now of the NBA. You know what I mean? You're losing out on Trevor Lawrence by beating a couple of teams that you should lose to. But yeah, I mean, I've watched it here and there. I try to keep tabs on it. I've lost some interest because of the major injuries that they had. And not because I'm not a Magic fan, but just because I know that they're not a complete team. They're playing guys out there for crying out loud. Their coach was out just to till tonight. He made his return. Steve Clifford with the COVID protocol. You know, they had a guy that came up on a 10-day contract, and he almost like completely shattered his leg. I mean, thankfully, it's just like a fracture, not even a fractured ankle, but he did have a gruesome ankle injury. It's crazy, you know, that they've had such bad luck with the injury play. I mean, it's amazing. You know what I mean? If I'm any player out there, hey, you want a 10-day contract? Hell no, I ain't going anywhere near you guys. Everybody that goes over there is getting injured. I would say in the G League. You know what I mean? Forget that. So.
Well, and I think again, this is where we were talking about with the NFL draft is they're a playoff contending team. Granted, albeit a 7 or an 8 seed, but now, next year, we're going to get to see what they see. You know, is Markelle Fultz going to come back? Is Jonathan Isaac going to come back? Is Terrence Ross going to be back 100%? And who are they going to get in the draft? I mean, because right now we're looking at a 1 or a 2 pick, hopefully.
Yeah.
And is it going to be a game changer? That's going to be the big question, you know, is going out for that because it's been a while since we've had a 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean, and to their credit, that's one thing that they have done, you know, pretty well. I remember when they had the last time they had the number 1 pick, they went out there and picked Dwight Howard. We talked about this in the last several weeks too. At that time, they had Tracy McGrady, whom did not want Dwight Howard. He wanted Emeka Okafor from Connecticut. They went ahead and made the decision to go at Dwight Howard, and rightfully so because Emeka Okafor's career just didn't quite pan out. Even as the number 2 pick, I believe he went to the Bobcats at that time. But yeah, it's just hopefully whatever the pick is the right pick. They'll have a great opportunity to do that. They've also stacked up on some picks. Hopefully they can package some of that, and because of cap situations now, I think they'll be able to pick a guy early on and hopefully lure somebody to come to Orlando, to team up with a young person that comes in here that can hopefully make some noise for years to come. So there is our magic rewind, if you will, to steal one of their things. Don't come at us, please. And I will say this. Cole Anthony, his second game-winning bucket of the year. Just the other night, he hit a game winner. Yeah, so the young man definitely has the clutch gene, that's for sure. Done it twice this year. I do own, may I add, Timmy, the NBA Top Shot of his first game winner against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
If he goes to the Hall of Fame.
I'm going to have to go in there. I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm going to have to go in there and buy this next one. Shit, I mean, I have the first
Tomorrow,
one.
I think they go on
second
sale.
One now.
Yeah.
So NBA Top Shot. Check them out if you haven't. Go get yourself an NFT and make yourself some money for you crypto people out there. I know Donald Pump is our crypto guy. So
yeah, I need him to start. I need him to start helping me out a little bit more. Okay, I was when I started out, it was like you guys were recruiting me and bringing me in, and now it's been radio silence. I've just been riding the waves over and over.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you definitely have the Tom Hanks Castaway feel to you right now, where you're just out there on your own, with Wilson. So
I'm like, I've made $12 the way that this freaking thing's been going lately, because it's like, I'm up $80, and then the next week it's like, I'm down 30. So
yeah. So Dogecoin, get out there and I know he's gonna hate me for saying this, but get out there, get yourself some Dogecoin and pump that thing up this week. Elon Musk is gonna be talking all about it on SNL next week. So go get yourself some Dogecoin and make you a little bit of coin while you're at it.
So one thing I did want to mention, big numbers tonight coming out of Washington and Indiana game. Washington won 154 to 141. Russell Westbrook, 14 points, 21 rebounds, 24 assists.
Jesus.
He had more assists than the entire Pacers team, I'm pretty sure. He had more rebound. Well, I will say Sabonis had 20 for the Pacers. He had 32 and 20, which is impressive. But is Russell Westbrook the best player in the league?
Russell Westbrook is not the best player in the league. Russell Westbrook is not a winner. And it's a shame.
Okay.
Because I heard somebody say this years ago about Carmelo Anthony, and at first I was like, this person is crazy. What are they smoking? But then the more I thought about it, the more I kept thinking, they may have a point. And I think in every sport we'll see guys like this across the board that are incredibly talented, but for whatever reason, they're just not winners, right? They cannot – individually, they're great. Their numbers tend to be great. Everything about them just seems to be fantastic. But for whatever reason, they can't get their teammates over the hump, and they're not the greatest of leaders, and cannot, for whatever reason, get the best out of their teammates. So they end up in these situations where you continuously look at them and go, "You're great. Your numbers are great. You do great stuff. Why the hell aren't you winning?" And I think Westbrook is one of those guys. I look at it, and if I throw it to baseball, and everybody says the greatest baseball player to ever live is Mike Trout. What has Mike Trout done to get the Angels over the hump? Now, granted, I know that's a different sport.
Yeah.
He's out there in the outfield, you know what I mean? He can't catch every ball. He can't pitch. You know what I mean? He can't bat for everybody. But still, what have you done, to make the rest of the guys around you better? Just saying,
That's
man, Mookie Betts.
I get what you're saying.
As a Red Sox fan, but he went out there and he got those guys over the hump after going to the World Series several years in a row. Mookie Betts gets there and boom, they're champions.
I get what you're saying. Now I'm not going to tell you that Mookie Betts is better than Mike Trout by any means, because and Bill was the guy who said this when we had him on the show. Baseball is one of the only sports where you can be successful as an individual and help your team. Baseball and golf, the two where you actually play against yourself. But with Russell Westbrook, I mean, this guy, he did it for a long time with, what team was he on? He was on,
He was with Oklahoma for
Yes.
the beginning of his career, and then he went out to
He's
Houston.
in Houston, and now he's in Washington, and he's still putting these numbers up. But the thing is with him, and this is what I noticed here, he only shot 8 shots tonight. He was 5 of 8.
Are they winning by any chance?
They won. They won
Okay, they
154
won.
to 141.
So he's better, obviously, as a distributor and a facilitator than he is as a scorer, right? He can score in bunches. The problem
can.
is that the way that he gets his points is by being a complete ball hog to the detriment of the team, right? So he's demonstrated that when he wants to be unselfish and when he wants to go out there and just be a pure facilitator,
They can win.
the team is going to be in a better situation.
Yeah.
So, where do they stand? Do you have the standings?
They
up by any
are
chance?
29.
Where are they right now?
They're 29 and 35. They're
Okay.
2 games out of the playoffs right now. They've got Indiana 1 game up on them, and Charlotte, who's in the 8th seed right now, who's 2 games up on them.
Okay. Okay.
So they've got
Charlotte, who just got back LaMelo Ball, which I don't know if you saw his assist a couple of days ago. He
that
took
kid
him a
is
while.
no joke.
This young man goes out there, catches the ball, they inbound it, and he just chucks the thing underhand, like a perfect toss to I think it was Miles Bridges or something like that. That was on the other end of it, caught it and put the ball up and got a bucket. But just nonchalant, just casually chucked that thing up there. And man, I mean, rookie of the year.
Definitely. And I said that during the draft. I said that was going to happen. Another big one right now, Golden State is up on 100 to 82 over New Orleans. Steph Curry currently sitting at 36 points, 7 assists, leading
MVP.
everyone by far. Zion's got 23, but that is another game going on. We said the Magic had won. Most of the other games are just now kicking off, first and second quarter. Nothing too crazy right now in the basketball world.
You know, Timmy, I want to bring the next topic in, and I wish Papa Foskett was around because he is a big baseball guy, and I do want to ask you this, and Dollar Bills, if he's still around, I'll get your take on it too, Bud. But and for anybody out there, just go ahead and throw it out there in the chat. Unwritten rules in baseball has been something that I go back and forth with. Just the other day we had benches clearing. We had a pitcher from the Rangers. I believe it was the Ranger. Was it the Rangers? And no, it was. I think it was Washington that was playing the Cubs, and his name escapes me, but he was just yapping away, and Javi Baez from the Cubs was having none of it, and they're just.
It was
chattering it all
Amir
up.
Garrett was the pitcher.
Okay. And
There
I
you
mean,
go.
he's pumping his chest and he's going crazy and where do you stand on the unwritten rules of baseball, what you can and can't say, and bat flips and showing people up?
So I'm a firm believer. If I'm a pitcher, right, and you go yard on me, okay, and you hit it and you watch it, or you do the bat flip thing, or you want to start talking while you're going to first, talking to me, okay? First off, my catcher is going to address that with you, not me. That's why he's there. That's his job.
Okay.
Secondly, though, if we're going to allow that, and you want to make that okay, which is what this whole thing was about, was we should be allowed to do that. If I strike you out, you better believe I should be able to do whatever I want and say whatever I want as you're walking back to the dugout. Okay? If you are allowed to hot dog and after you go yard on me, if I strike you out, you better believe I'm going to tell you and everyone you know, and I'm going to be talking about your mom and everybody else about how bad you are at this game, because most people tend to strike out more than they hit home runs. So it's a very slippery slope that you open up, because some of these pitchers in this league, you might not want to charge them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to have, and that's I think where we draw the line. But with the unwritten rules, it's just an understatement. A lot of it's a, I don't want to say it's a gentleman's game, but it's one of those games where you got to act like you've been there. If it's a key moment in the game and you hit a walk-off home run or a grand slam or something like that, okay, it's a little different. But you celebrate with your team. You don't celebrate, talking about how you dog the pitcher or how the guy leaves a hanging curveball and you just take him out. Like there's a lot of unwritten rules because one, you do that, just understand your next batter is going to get beamed. He's going to get hit, and it's your fault.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you straight up, make sure you blame your boy for this because it's coming, and I'm going to get tossed, and it's going to happen. But that's just how baseball is, and I think that's one of the things that everybody loves about it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what though, because of the state of baseball and where it is right now, I'm here for it. And if I'm Major League Baseball, I'm quietly saying, you know what, we're going to encourage the crap out of this, and I want guys to celebrate. I want guys to bat flip. I want guys to take forever to get around the bases and to show people up, because if this is what we're going to do to bring in the crowds, then we'll do that. And then once we have them and we have their attention, we can slowly start getting rid of it again. I mean, obviously we're not going to do this to the point where we're, throwing fastballs at 101 miles per hour at somebody's face. You know what I mean? Like, it's not what we're looking for, but I am going to encourage guys to the point where I'm saying, hey, you know what? You hit one, boom, you flip that bat and you show it up and you make sure that they hear you and they see you and they know that you've done this. And if you're a pitcher and you struck out Mike Trout, if you struck out one of these top guys in the league and you go out, you pump your chest and you say, get off the plate and go back to your bench. You know what I mean? This is my house. You know what I mean? Get a little bit of anger out there. Get a little bit of, start showing the side of these guys that I think has been hidden too long, that I think baseball needs to start showing so that people will be more interested in it. Because right now, like you said, okay, a gentleman's game to a certain extent, you know what? If we want that, go watch some golf. And even to that extent, in golf right now, we're starting to see guys come out of their shell, and the PGA say, you know what? Good on you. Go ahead. Do it. Get out there. You know what I mean? I think we need to let these guys express themselves. They have plenty of young, up-and-coming stars that have colorful personalities that need to get themselves out there so that baseball does a better job of marketing them. And if that means that you're going to get out there and you're going to flash a little something, have at it.
Well, and I understand where you're coming from, but it's something, again, if the legend was in the chat, something I was taught from a very early age is that you never know who's watching you. And that's one thing that you've got to remember too, is when there are very few sports that young kids can play. They can play soccer and they can play baseball. And they grow up watching those two sports, and I think if you start bringing that in, they start to tend to get that mindset, because now, okay, are you going to make it okay in college to do that? Are you going to make it okay in high school to do that? You've got Little League players that are growing up thinking it's okay to hot dog because they went yard, when you got the kid that's a catcher who's 8 inches taller than everybody and weighs 150 pounds more, who's hitting a home run every time. He's eating a hot dog as he's walking up because it's okay. We're allowed to do that. So I think that's another reason why I would not want this, just because of the sanctity of baseball, if you will, as a whole, going all the way down to the T-ball league. Because, in T-ball, they do allow a little bit of that from an offensive standpoint in batting, because, if you get a kid that's, 3'2" and the tee's bigger than him and he gets a hit, everybody's going crazy for this kid. They're excited. But I think from that aspect, I would say I don't want it. And I honestly, I don't like this idea. I think for the fans, from a promotional standpoint, you're 100% correct. But I don't know. I've always found more appreciation in pitchers than I have in batters, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, just a thought, Trevor Bauer came out and he was very vocal about it, and he said, you know what? He hits one off of me, boom, get out there and do what you need to do. I mean, I gave you, a little cookie up there and you decided to blast it. That's all good on you. So
it reminds me of Bull Durham when he tells him the pitch, and the guy watches like, "What are you doing? Run, dummy!"
At the end of the day, listen, if you did it, you deserve it. Good on you again. But just a thought on my side. I guess I could say that would be my hashtag sideline is opinion.
There you go.
Let these guys go out there and play, show some personality, and let baseball, come back to life a little bit. So we'll see. Man, I think we covered quite a bit there,
Yeah.
Timmy. Even though it is a little slower in the sports world, I think we went serious, we went fun, we did a little bit of everything. You have anything else for our fine folks out there today?
There's not a lot going on. We're in kind of a lull right now. We've got basketball going on that nobody cares about. We've got baseball that's kind of picking up. The Bruins did win tonight, 3-0. I did see that. Just wanted to.
Sir,
I know you didn't mention it, so I figured I'd throw it out there.
it's okay. Bill, I got you, bro.
I don't think Tampa's playing tonight, so we don't have anything going on with that. But yeah, we're in a lull. We're gonna try and keep everybody going. We're trying to watch these headlines as they come through, guys, to kind of get some ideas and stuff going on. So if you guys do run into any stuff, man, I know a lot of you guys have our numbers. Shoot us a text. Let us know if you got any ideas. But yeah, that's about it for tonight, man.
Yeah, we threw out some stuff on social media leading up to it. We did put out there one of our little videos on there, which I think it's freaking awesome. So shoot us some feedback on that. Let us know what you guys are thinking about that and what you see so far. But again, hit us up on social media at Talk Sideline on the Twitter, Sideline Sport Talk on Instagram and on Facebook. Don't be shy. Let us know your thoughts. Throw stuff our way. We're all good to bounce ideas. It's not only our show, it's all of our shows. We are all on the sidelines together. So hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking. And that's it. I think we're out for today.
Definitely. Have a great week, guys. Make good choices and be safe. We will see you guys on the sideline.